All right, the property prequel, be in the know before you buy. It's the Ask Matt Q&A series. So had some epic feedback from last time. Myself and with the co-host Jamila, who does our marketing at the Srama Group. She actually came up with the idea, and yeah, it was a really good response, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was amazing. There was lots of feedback, and good to see something a little bit different as well.
Keeping it fresh, something different. That's all we're like. Look, let's have a go at it. Something different. And one thing I found as well, it's like that holistic approach to property. I love the feedback we get with this podcast around the help it's giving buyers before they go out to buy. And part of it as well is not just the property front, the whole holistic view, you know, whether it's in my personal life, there's some applications you can take to get you in a better position in the property game. And yeah, just different things I'm learning in business as well and all those sorts of things. So yeah, really appreciate the feedback. Let us know if you do have a comment. Keep an eye out. Probably, what do you reckon, once every 3 to 4 weeks, we'll put out an Ask Matt post on Instagram. So check that out and put any questions you're keen to get on here. We choose around 6 questions and, yeah, we just dive deep and have a crack. So let's rip into it. I went over time last one. I'm going to...
It was that morning routine, morning and night routine.
I told myself 20, 30 minutes max. I think it went for like 50 minutes. So let's give it a crack. Round 2. Jamila, what questions have come in?
All right, let's get into it. So for our first question, what tips can you give a home buyer who has been looking for a house over 3 months?
Oh, that's a good one. So I love this question because, look, first thing I always say, stock's low. That's number one. What I mean by that is the amount of property available for sale is actually at an all-time low. So it doesn't surprise me it's becoming harder for people to secure a property that they desire, you know, within 3 months or less. Some people it's taken even 6 months. So that's the first thing, just highlighting that stock is low. Second one is I feel some buyers who have been looking for over 3 months may be in misalignment to what they need. So what I mean by that is I use this framework called a buyer triangle. Super simple framework. Price, condition, location. And just say your price is fixed at the top. Generally, if you've been looking for so long, one of the other 2 pillars needs some alignment. So take a look. If you've been a buyer looking for over 3 months, not finding anything, is there misalignment in your buyer triangle? Price, condition, location. Sometimes people are wanting to be in a certain location and a certain condition, and it's out of their price range. So one big tip I always find is sometimes it's one of those 2 generally. If you've got your fixed price, look at the condition of the property. So is it renovated? Is it unrenovated? Are you going to compromise on an unrenovated property to be in a better location? Or on the other side, can you compromise the location here on the Gold Coast, for instance, being further back from the beach, compromising on location to be in a better condition property? So if you are a buyer out there, I feel that's a really handy framework. Price, condition, location. Keep that framework in check. Make sure it's aligned throughout the process. And then probably the third one is just, I guess, a big tip's getting help. Obviously, I'm biased towards buyer's agents. I know the value buyer's agents can give to people out there. But one thing as well, are you dedicating enough time to the process? Like people often say to me that they've missed out on opportunities because they couldn't get to the open home, or, you know, the agent didn't call them back, all those sorts of things. You've got to remember you have to put in energy to the process. So if you haven't got the time dedicated, get help. If you do have the time dedicated, realize that it's not as simple as just waiting to see what comes online and just being reactive to what the market does. You really have to be proactive in finding your dream property. That's probably the big one as well, is like, are you being a reactive buyer or are you being proactive in your search? So that's probably, they're the 3 things that come to mind.
Love it. That's some really good information there that I feel like people will take away from that. So
Yeah.
that's epic.
Yeah, no, but at the end of that, look, stock's short. So don't be too disheartened.
Yeah.
Yeah. The journey.
definitely a big journey there.
It's the journey, 100%.
Amazing. All right, so we'll go on to our second question.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit more on the personal side, going into your 3 favourite investment books.
One thing, I said this before, I'm trying to get the reading habit on.
Yes, you've said that.
Trying my best. Do you read?
Do I read? I give it a crack every now and then, like at night. I try to bring it into my night routine, but it's one of those things I'd like to prioritize more for sure.
Definitely, like for myself, I find I love it. I actually genuinely love reading, but the busier you get, it's one of those things you have to actually implement a habit for. I love audio books and podcasts and stuff like that. Like I really get a kick out of that sort of stuff. There's an app I've always had called Blinkist, and it's like condensed versions of audiobooks. So there's a key little bonus tip there if anyone likes listening and they don't have heaps of time, maybe try out an app like Blinkist. But some of the books the ones I'm about to mention, I have read. First one would be Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki.
It's one of my favourites too. Sorry, I thought I'd just jump in there.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
And the reason it's a good one, it's easy to read. Like it's not too complex, but it's kind of like what it does, it just shifts your mindset to a different way of thinking. Like my biggest takeaway out of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was trying to escape like the rat race and realizing that you're trading time for money. And probably the biggest one of all is when people's income increases, so does people's taxes and also their spending habits. So they're actually just doing the exact same thing in a different rat race. So it's all around escaping the rat race, looking at money differently, realizing there's ways to minimize tax and things like that. And the overarching thing I love around Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the asset column. So what is in the asset column for you personally or your family? Like, an asset could be an investment property, could be stocks, shares, could be heaps of different things that are producing and spitting out cash flow each week, each month, and putting money back in your pocket, which effectively you can claim as a tax deduction as well in most cases. So, yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad would definitely be the number one kind of overarching investment book. Second to that, I had to think around this. I wrote it down. What was it? Really easy one. A bit more of a complex read, but it's not so much investing. It's called The Psychology of Money, pretty sure. And why I like that one was that it just, again, it's not so much around the strategies. It's more, I feel you could have all the strategies, but if your mindset and psychology around money is off, I feel the financial abundance just won't be there.
I fully agree with that one.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like the belief around money.
And how you talk about it.
How you talk about it. What was it spoken like with your family at home growing up?
Huge.
Some of those things could be bordering you to success. Like you have to break through that wall in order to even get to a financial place you want to be. Again, you could have all the strategies out there, but if your psychology around money, the way you're raised around it, the way mum and dad spoke about it, the way you envisioned rich people was negative, that's something you may have to break. And one thing for me I took away after reading that book was like, for myself, like money was very scarce when I was growing up. Like mum and dad were immigrants, came from nothing, very tight with, we didn't have all the luxuries as kids. Always had food on the table, very grateful. But when I got older, I started like protecting it. Like, oh no, I shouldn't be investing because mum and dad didn't. It was just like every dollar that came out of the pocket was counted. So for me, probably in my early 20s, I realized, well, what I'm learning is you have to like invest your money to make it. So it's not going to do anything in your back pocket. So I had to really work hard to change my psychology around money and breaking the habit that mum and dad taught me that, just just money doesn't grow on trees. Keep it in your pocket. Don't spend it. Be careful.
Be safe.
Be very
with
safe.
money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be very safe. Took some good habits from that, 100%. So grateful. But I realized there's this whole other field of investors who are doing really well that it's calculated risk. You have to take risks at times. So psychology and money is a big one. And then one of my favorites, Jamila, is probably it's called The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. And this book changed my perspective on a lot of things. And in a nutshell, if you think of a quadrant, so like a 4 squares, and on the left side of the quadrant, there's employee, so you're employed by a company, and then business owner. Self-employed. I'll take that back. So on the left side of there's employee, and then self-employed. So you just got a small business. And on the right side of the quadrant, there's business owner and investor. And the whole purpose of the book in changing the mindset around what side of the quadrant are you in. And the goal, what I realized was, all right, I'm really working hard to get on the right side of the quadrant. In a nutshell, what it explains is instead of trading time for money, making your time output more leverage to bring in income. And then the key is what you're doing with that income, invest it back into assets. So it's like this on the right side of the quadrant, it sort of shows the more money you make, you invest it, which is going to spit income. So you can raise your skills and, raise your business or invest it back into a business. And then you can leverage other people and, create impact that way. So that was a big one, cash flow quadrant, staying on the right side of it. And then one little one just to finish on around this industry, what I find is when it talks around becoming a business owner, for people out there listening, you don't generally have to be somewhat a business owner. Like for instance, in this industry, we've got an amazing team and a lot of them are business owners under the Sarama Group banner, but they're their own business. Like the amount of work they put in, they get that back in financial reward as well. So think of it that way. And one thing with this industry is that I'm finding is there's GCI and there's NCI. I always focus on NCI for myself and my team because GCI, gross commission, if you're earning so much gross commission and you're doing all the deals and whatnot, but you're not taking anything home, really you're in that, like we said, that first book, you're in the rat race.
Yeah.
Your spending habits are keeping up with the commission you're making. What I tell people and what I really challenge myself as well, what's the NCI? What's the net commission income you're bringing home from your hard work? So, and then using that NCI, the net commission income, investing it into assets rather than, long lunches on a Friday, brand new luxuries and, whatever. All those stuff are good. Don't get me wrong. I love luxuries as well, but prioritize, pay yourself first, pay the assets first, then, be responsible with the surplus out of that. So that's just my take, not financial advice, so obviously, but just just what I notice in this industry. Hey, there's a lot of GCI, but no NCI. So gross commission income versus net commission income. What are you taking home to invest back into your life?
Yeah, you've spoken to me about that a fair few times, and I've always loved when you speak deeply into that and give me a huge understanding. So that's some fire tips on that.
Yeah. Well, it's just even a quick one now because I know a lot of people in the industry listen. It doesn't matter what commission you're making. Like you could be the biggest writer and your ego is so strong, but there's someone who could be writing far less in commission, but their NCI, their net commission income, they're taking home and then reinvesting. So their net position as a whole wealth side of things is could be far greater than where you are. So just because you're writing high gross commission income doesn't mean you're taking it all home. So just something to be mindful. What is your NCI? So hopefully that provides a bit of a mindset shift for anyone in this industry, or if you're in sales or something like that, to look at what is my NCI? What am I actually taking home to be able to invest?
Love it.
Yeah. So that cash flow quadrant book, to wrap it all up, sort of changed all that for me.
Yeah. Get your hands on that book
Yeah,
straight
it's
away.
good. It's a good little book. Yeah.
I
Love it.
definitely will be having a read of that one. We'll go on to our next question. So, how was your first experience in the industry?
In the real estate industry?
In the real estate industry.
First experience in the real estate industry, firstly, it's uncomfortable. It's tough. It's a grind. Like people say, it's a grind. And one thing I always say, if you're someone who maybe wants experience in a whole new field or upskill in a certain area, or maybe you're coming out of school or uni and you just want a job that's really going to test you, I always say, give the real estate industry a go, because the most I ever grown was actually, in this industry. Reason being, I learned, these are the three key things I took away from starting off in the real estate industry. Number one, dealing with rejection. Like, I remember I used to work, I'm a buyer's agent now, but I used to work as a sales agent. 3 straight months, probably 6 months straight of just straight rejection. So you get used to it. I remember I was door knocking, I was cold calling, stuff super uncomfortable I've never done before. And what it just allowed me to do is realize that it is the process, not the outcome. So focus on the key habits and just doing it. So I never got too, when I got the rejection early days, it used to really affect me. But then after a while, I learned from some of the guys who were doing really well in the office, they treated it like a numbers game. It's just like, well, that's part of it. You just got to,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Going.
Keep going. Yeah. So that was really cool. So that's a big one. If you're someone who wants to test yourself and get better processes and habits, that's probably the key thing is rejection. Number 2 was people skills. Being able to adapt and understand that not everyone is the same as you. So I always have this mindset called the chameleon mindset. And what I notice in business and in this industry, some of the best in this industry aren't so much the technically gifted. It's more they've got that chameleon skill where they can relate to the old lady in her 80s, but also the young couple in their 20s, the single dad over here and also the single mum over here. It's just they're very good at aligning to all different personality types. And my favorite word, they can build rapport quickly.
Love that.
So that was another one. And then the third biggest tip I can give if you're wanting to start in this industry is market knowledge. Just you can't fake market knowledge. So if you're on a buyer's agent or if you're a sales agent, start to know your product, start to know your area. That can take a few months, but that key skill alone will compound massively over the next few decades if you stay in this industry, because market knowledge is king. If you've got the ability to deal with rejection, you got the ability to build rapport and have good people skills, and then you top it all off with this really good market knowledge, that's what I feel can create a weapon in this industry. But to answer it all, your question from the start, it's very tough, a lot of grind. It can take 6 to 12 months to even get any form of traction. So that's one thing to remember. It's not what you see on TV and maybe you see on social media, like these people just like, oh, seems like they're making, it seems like it just falls into that, making so much money. You ask anyone in this industry, the top performers, they'll tell you the horrific grind periods.
But I feel like that's for any industry in a sense, especially if you're starting out with your own company, and speaking from experience as well for myself, you've got to go through a lot of no's before you get a yes sometimes. And that's what, like you said, builds your confidence, builds how you're going, your rapport with people. So I think it's a really important process no matter what industry you are in, but definitely for real estate as well.
100%. You're exactly right. Like any industry, right? You focus on the process, not the outcome. And yeah, just hopefully this is a reminder as well to anyone thinking of getting in the industry. There's not many industries where, you can earn just as much as a brain surgeon with a 4-day course. You know what I mean? In all honesty. But it is no way near as easy as what you think. So just a reminder, but very rewarding. not only from a financial piece, but more so the impact piece. There's not many jobs as well where you're very much in an emotional state with some of these people you're helping. So it's very impact driven industry, and very grateful to be a part of it, but very tough when I started out. Yeah,
definitely. All right, some more amazing
what do we got?
advice. So we'll go on to our next is biggest influence in business. So almost who inspires you and keeps you on track.
Yeah, okay. At the moment, this might add some value. There's a couple I really like. They're called the Hormozi. Like there's Alex Hormozi. I know you, and
big fan.
Layla Hormozi. They're like husband and wife. Their business acumen is wild. Like
incredible.
It's incredible. Like, and the way they can articulate, you can tell they've done a lot of training on being able to deliver a message very succinctly. They're very good. So Alex Hormozi, I've noticed, very good with sales and marketing in terms of scaling a business as well. And Layla, she's exceptional with, I've learned tons from her from like leadership and culture and HR side of things. So the two of them together, there's a bit of content there for if you're in business, you have got just listen to those two and you could pretty much get all you need. So Alex Hormozi and Layla Hormozi, and he's got a podcast called The Game, and she's got a podcast called Build, I think. So check them out. Yeah. Next is, I'm on the Gold Coast. I really look up to like Michael Koloshi and Koloshi's brand. Reason I love their business is I've spoken to MK here and there at auctions and different things. Every time I chat to him, he's very big on like culture, people, collaboration, like all the good stuff that people forget. It's not always about the dollars. So I really respect them from that. But then looking from afar in their marketing, I like the way they've niched a certain, that they don't take certain properties. They just stick to, the more high end. They do it well. Yeah. And even little things like I noticed like some of the people in their office and even himself, like they wear the same thing. It's like that clean, crisp. Just I don't know how much thought they put into it, but I love again marketing and those sorts of things. It's like he's built like this brand that is drip fed through the people within the organisation as well, which I really respect. And they haven't been around long. 2019 they started.
Wow, I
wild.
didn't know that.
Wild.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah, wild. So check out their brand. And then for myself, I do a bit of stuff with The Entourage, not the show. There's this crew. I've done a bit with them. Yeah, they've been good. Main reason, biggest thing I took away from doing stuff with The Entourage was learning about the 6 pillars in business. So the 6 pillars that I learned from The Entourage were you got marketing. Marketing generates sales. Sales generates, the service delivery then, like the product or service. Then to function all that, you need operations, which is number 4. Number 5 is the finance side of the business. And then number 6 is the people who bring it all together, and the culture and all those sorts of things. So those 6 pillars that I learnt in The Entourage, I actually apply into what we do at the Strama Group. So that's been cool. Just I had no idea about business, learned that. So shout out, The Entourage has been good. And Jack Delosa, met him a few times. I just really respect him as an entrepreneur. So check him out, Jack Delosa. And Ben Handler, I do a bit of mentoring with him every month. He's very buyer's agent specific, so he's helped me a lot with being able to see new opportunities that I would not have been able to see myself because he's 10, 20 years ahead of me in the same industry. So I don't see the point of making so many mistakes. Sometimes you can limit the amount of mistakes by maybe hiring some help for someone who's literally been there. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
Add some extra.
Wild. And I'm big on paying, as you know, like paying people and mentors and that. I'll invest heaps of money, like crazy amounts of money into that. But the amount they've been able to generate back into me and what I've been learning on the way, you can't put a price on that. So don't be afraid to invest into help. Hopefully some of those names give some insight into maybe some business influencers. They've definitely helped myself for sure.
It's definitely important to have along the way as well. Like you said, being able to reach out for help, advice, and always good to have
some
in the background.
Yeah, I was just gonna. One thing I realized with people who are doing well or people you want to reach, a lot of them will actually just take your call or your email. Like you'd be surprised. I've reached out to some people and they're like, yeah, cool, here's my number, just give us a quick buzz sometime. Like,
there's no harm in asking.
There's no harm in asking.
Well. To get to the next stage, these are the things that you need to, I guess, put yourself out.
Oh, it's 100%.
Put yourself out there to be able to get the best.
One of my favourites, you don't ask, you don't know.
I was going to say that before as well.
Just,
but I was like, oh, surely that's coming.
Yeah, don't ask, don't know. So, yeah. But, yeah, hopefully that helps with some influences in business.
Amazing. For our next question, best tip for finding new purpose when reaching high levels of success? I like that one.
It's a very, very deep
one.
I heard that one come on the story, and I actually couldn't articulate. It made me think,
I need some time for
this.
Yeah,
them ones. I'll try and answer it as best I can. The first thing that came to mind was all right, I'll give you an example for our business, right? Like as a buyer's agency, if we want to find new levels of success, we've been leaning a lot actually on the purpose. So what I mean by that is, one of my favorite sayings is focus on the purpose, not the purchase. And what that's allowed myself and all the team as well collectively is understand that there's a story behind the purchase. And that is actually what gets you out of bed. That is actually the one where you do want to do the extra bits for the clients, because if it was just about the purchase, maybe you wouldn't make that extra phone call to the client to keep them at ease. Maybe you wouldn't do that extra inspection. Maybe you wouldn't, provide some extra value back to the service, because what I find is when the purpose is strong, like you're dealing with people who are moving their family from interstate, maybe a family, this is their first house, they've saved up for 10 years, 20 years. Maybe it's a couple, it's a new chapter of life on the Gold Coast. So that sort of stuff is the purpose that raises the level of success, I feel, for our business, is focusing on the purpose, not the purchase. So hopefully that might add some value to anyone in maybe this industry, or taking that and applying it into whatever industry you're in. That's really helped us. But yeah, just I did one actually last week in this Q&A app, or last month or whenever it was, but listen to that one. The first one we did, it was about your why. I think that could relate as well. Definitely. It was like a lot of people mentioned they love the 7 layers deep exercise.
Yes.
So check out that app and listen to the 7 layers deep exercise. That will get you more to your core of why, and then that may bring up a purpose that might fuel a stronger fire. But yeah, it's important. Hey, you need a purpose behind everything.
Well, yeah, if you don't have the purpose, you're kind of just
yeah,
you're floating around, unsure, a lot of uncertainty. So figuring out your purpose and your why is very beneficial.
Yeah, and it's forever changing. That's one thing I learned. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to try and find what that is,
exactly.
And like what I've realized, it can change quarterly. So it's always checking back in with, because as you grow, so will your purpose.
I guess just checking in with yourself and where you're at is a huge one as well.
100%.
And knowing how to, what next steps to take as well.
Check in with yourself.
Yeah. I definitely preach that, that's for sure.
100%.
Okay,
that's a good question though. I know who asked that as well.
Oh.
Yeah. I remember who sent that question in. They're a very deep thinker. I love it.
Okay, we'll move on to our last but not least question.
We're doing good time-wise, by the way.
I'm very impressed. Good
Great
job. How do you stay consistent with marketing?
Love this one.
Yeah.
I'm a fiend for marketing. I've got no marketing background or experience. I don't know why. I just love it for some reason. When I was young, I always loved colouring in footy jersey. I know, random. And I've always had this eye kind of thing for marketing. Never been good at it, never understood it. But then when I started the business, one thing I said to myself is how am I going to get people to know what I do? How am I going to stay, this is my favorite word, how am I going to stay top of mind out in the community when there's so much noise out there? There's so many other people doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
When I started the business, all I thought was, I just want to stay top of mind and keep popping up everywhere. So what I did was I really focused on how can I do that? How can I just stay top of mind? And one easy tip to stay top of mind that is very cost effective is utilizing a platform like social media, like Instagram and Facebook. That's all I started with. And what I've realized as we've continued to scale, the same protocols I've still got, but now it's at scale. What I mean by that is we still just want to stay top of mind as a company. And now I'm in the game of helping my team stay top of mind, not just me. I want my team to be top of mind. So I'm putting together systems and processes for them to build their profiles and brands in the marketing space. So my biggest tip around consistency for the marketing piece is to have a clear system and process.
I was going to say, yeah.
And if you knew what goes on the back end on what I do, like it's very structured. It's very like attention to detail. Reason is I'm a very structured kind of person. I do love system and process, but I realize if you want to scale anything, you do have to have some sort of system and process. So the biggest way we've been able to stay consistent with marketing is, my biggest tip is I actually plug it into the calendar to do filming blocks. And the reason I say blocks is I'm not going to use an hour block to film one video. That's probably not the best use of my time. But if I could get 5 videos out of that 60 minutes, I can use those 5 clips over 5 weeks potentially.
Yep.
So all of a sudden that 60 minutes turns into a month of potential content. And then like we're doing right now, we've been here for 30, 40 minutes, long form content. So that's a piece of content. But then out of that, it's going to be chopped up into smaller content. Yeah, snipped up. And then that snippet can then go on to not only Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, sort of everywhere.
So many different
So all of a sudden that leverage on that 30, 40 minutes of time, it's insane ROI. So that's why I tell people, it's like, how are you not can you not dedicate, 1 to 2 hours a week, pay a videographer, to it's one of the best investments you can make for your business. And then the consistent pieces, have a good system and process behind the scenes. So have some structure on when it's getting posted, and consistency. Like my goal now, just 1 a day, like nothing too wild. When I started, it was like 3 a week, keeping it super simple and just stick to it. So one thing I find is the thing that drops the most when you get busy is marketing. I've found, and that's with a lot of people in this industry as well I've spoken to. It's just like, how do you stay consistent with your marketing? It's just like, you gotta treat it like you would your prospecting calls or your meeting time. It's just like, where's your marketing time? Have some good filming blocks and go hard. But yeah, answer your question, system and process to achieve better consistency in marketing, and then realizing that you need to leverage the time used. So don't think it's 1-to-1 ratio. So you film for 1 hour, you get 1 hour back. It's like you film for 1 hour, you could get 1 hour back in all these different little short forms that could go out on 6 platforms over the next month. That
smart.
Yeah, so it's just like,
it's a good move.
Yeah, it's a good move. Yeah, marketing's everything. So hopefully does that kind of answer?
Yeah,
I think consistency.
I feel like
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
System and process.
I was going to say, there's one thing Matt loves is a good system and process. So in every aspect of your life.
It's funny. There was a few business questions in here today. I remember chatting to this one guy. He was a successful business owner on the Gold Coast, had a few different businesses, and he just sold another business that did really well. It was a cafe in Mermaid or something. And I just reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'm thinking of starting a business. What would be your biggest tip? And I literally asked him that question, and he said, Matt, systems and processes.
You've never let that go.
never knew what he was talking about. Now
It makes sense.
my team and get annoyed at how much I say it because I've realised it's all about
does
system
come out
and
of
process.
your mouth a lot, but you are very much trying to ingrain that into us. And I think it's definitely changed my life because I've definitely taken a few notes from that area with system and process, and it definitely changes your life in a lot of different aspects if you can get a clear
Yeah,
way.
it's like that mix as well. You want it. Some people are more flowy in energy. You know, you can't take that away from.
Balance
Yeah,
to it.
it's bringing balance. I think, like creatives, for instance, like they're you know, you can't get them too structured. You need to let them flow. But I feel, you need to have some sort of structure behind anything if you want to achieve a next level. So hopefully that answers the question on consistency with marketing. Yeah,
I feel like it does.
How good? How'd we go? That was.
I actually don't know.
That was only like half an hour, I think. So that's good.
Good job.
That's
good.
good.
Effort.
That's really good. And
Nice and speedy.
yeah, no, it's good. Hopefully there was a bit of value out of that one. Speaking on consistency in marketing, like Emily from Social, like gun. She's a gun at what she does. She'll cut some of this up. It'll be you'll see it all posted up. So just a good example that I'm practicing what I preach. Like you'll see all of this get jammed out everywhere. So, and the whole purpose is just want to stay top of mind and provide value. That's what it's about. So, hopefully that helps. As mentioned, Jamila puts the post out like once a month, I think it is. Just keep an eye out. It'll say like Ask Matt Q&A. It's been epic. Hopefully providing value, not just on the property space, but all things around it holistically as well. So hopefully that's been, really helpful. So add some value. Throw in whatever value you want and I'll do my best to answer it. And like always, all the feedback, really do appreciate it. Leave a comment, whatever, share it around, spread the love.
Love it.
Good job. Good question asking as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's getting better. Getting better. It's getting better.
I know about that, but we'll work on it.
Good job. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.